Please be seated. I'll ask our jurors again, did you follow my instructions not talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand and let me know. Okay. Could I have everybody leave the courtroom except for the one juror who lifted their hand? And we'll be with our other jurors momentarily. Ma'am, I'll tell you what, we'll call you out next. Okay, thank you. It's okay. Okay, please be seated. Can you tell me your juror ID number, ma'am?
I think it's 82 or 83.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Ma'am, what happened?
When we were released early yesterday, I didn't know whether I needed to go back to work or not. So I was Googling the jury rules for a juror, whether you need to go back to work after you've been released early for the day. And it was on my work computer because it was work related, whether I needed to go back to work or not. And I was looking up a couple of things. And for some reason I got to a page and it had 4 rectangles on it. And in the lower right-hand rectangle, I saw the name Jenny Ray Rogers. I immediately closed it down because I said, oh gosh, I shouldn't be seeing any of this. Immediately closed it down, shut off the computer, and came over to the jury assembly office where I asked one of the clerks what I needed to do. I knew I needed to raise my hand this morning, but I just needed some confirmation not to worry about it all night last night. So, and I know this is very minor. All I saw was the name Jenny Ray Rogers. I don't even know what website it was, but I didn't see anything more than that.
You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You just,
Okay.
if it's someone talking, you tell them I can't talk and you walk away. And if it's something like that, just close it.
Okay. That is exactly what I did.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate your honesty in letting us know. Any questions from the state?
None from the state.
From the defense?
None from the defense.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And the same instructions apply, and we'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If in the future something like this happens again, and I close it up quickly and I don't see any, don't see any more than just a name, should I also still raise my hand?
It's probably just the best to let us know in the abundance of caution.
Okay.
Something like that's harmless, but just to be fair to both parties, you should let us know.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And I hope you didn't lose any sleep.
I did, but okay, that's part of the process. And I feel just how the other juror feels right now.
Please be seated. Ma'am, do you remember your juror ID number?
252.
Okay. And ma'am, tell me what happened. And as long as you're telling us, you don't have to be worried about anything. You're fine.
I went to work yesterday because it's the holidays and people are asking for time off, so I wanted to be honest and not just go home and take advantage of the day. You said we weren't sequestered, and it was just, people are trying to figure out stuff. I just say, I can't talk about it, but I woke up this morning and I'm thinking, am I putting the case at jeopardy because I want to be a nice person and, show up. I'm not talking about it, but people can figure stuff out.
Well, I mean, the key is if you're not talking about it, if people are telling you what they think about it, then you need to tell them you can't talk about it and walk away.
No, they're not telling me what they think. I did hear somebody say they were following a case. But like I say, they were all happy to see me. And I'm just like, they know something's going on. I can't talk about it, but I felt myself like, maybe I've messed up the integrity of what I'm supposed to be doing.
As long as you followed the instructions, if you see something about it, close it and don't read it, and and don't talk about it.
I'm
And
sick
if,
of HGTV right now. I don't watch TV.
Well, maybe some direct movies, right? Well, thank you, ma'am. State, any questions?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Defense?
Just briefly, ma'am, was there anything that you feel any of your coworkers did or said that would influence the way you're going to perceive evidence or decide this case?
No, sir. It was me, thinking, did I do something wrong by trying to do the right thing? And people, ask questions and I'm just like, I can't talk about it. I know how to shut it down, but I didn't know if I was doing an injustice to you guys.
You let us know, that's what's important.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
And
I'm a wreck sometimes.
we all are. I just appreciate your honesty. I hope you didn't lose any sleep over it. And
No, I woke up pretty early.
you did what you were supposed to do, and we all appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll let you
I'm
join
not going to jail.
No.
Thank you.
Please be seated. Anything with the two jurors from the state at this time?
Nothing from the state but a big exhale.
Defense?
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
Okay, why don't we give them a couple minutes? She might need to compose herself, and then we'll bring them all out. You what? That's okay. State's ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense is ready?
Defense is ready, Your Honor.
Okay, bring them out. Please be seated. I'll ask our jurors again, have you followed my instructions, not talked about the case among yourselves with anybody else, or looked up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand and let me know. For the record, no jurors lifted their hand. State, next witness.
State calls Winston Chambers.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Winston Chambers,
And where are you employed, sir?
Tracfone Wireless.
And in what capacity are you employed there?
I'm a manager for that department,
A manager for,
subpoena compliance department.
and what is Tracfone Wireless?
It's a prepaid cell phone service.
And how does Tracfone Wireless provide prepaid cell phone services?
Basically, we utilize various carriers to activate our customer's phone.
And when you use various carriers to activate customer phones, do you keep records of those activations?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to the jury where you keep these records?
It's maintained in our system.
And do these records include the phone numbers associated with phones that get activated with Tracfone Wireless?
Yes, sir.
Do the records also include the locations of where these phones were purchased?
Some do, yes.
Are these records maintained in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And as a member of the subpoena compliance department, are you a custodian of those records?
Yes, sir.
Are the records kept secure?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 67. It's previously been shown to the defense. And ask if you recognize number 67.
Yes, sir. Tracfone records.
Okay, and are these records from Tracfone Company?
Yes, sir.
And is that record a record that was made during the normal course of business and at or near the time the record was being made?
Yes.
Do the entries on the record reflect a Tracfone activation or a Tracfone phone number?
Yes.
Do the records reflect the location of the Tracfone purchase?
Yes, it does.
And are you the custodian of that particular record?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, this time the state would admit what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit Number 67 into evidence as State 67.
Objection.
We'll show it admitted.
What was the phone number associated with State's Exhibit Number 67?
858-336-2941.
And that was as you mentioned earlier, a prepaid Tracfone that was activated as part of your network.
Yes.
Where was the phone activated?
Where it was purchased?
Yes, purchased, sorry.
It was purchased at the Walmart store.
Okay, and what's the address with that Walmart store?
5420 Juliet Boulevard, Naples, Florida, 34109.
Does the account have a username associated with it? Right, correction. Let me ask a better question. Does the account have the name of a user associated with it?
Doesn't show any name. No.
Okay, and so is it possible for a person to activate a Tracfone and not have to give a name?
Yes.
Does the account have an email address or any address associated with it?
No, sir.
And is it also possible for somebody to activate a Tracfone and not give an email address or a home address of any kind?
That is correct.
Your Honor, we tender the witness. Number 67.
Defense.
Good morning, Mr. Chambers.
Good morning.
When someone purchases a prepaid phone, are they required to give a name or an address?
No, sir.
Okay. And how long have you worked for Tracfone?
I would say about close to 19 years.
Okay. Do you yourself have a prepaid phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And with prepaid phones, is it, there's no contract, is that correct?
That's correct.
You just put the money on the phone and you get a pre-allotted, prescribed amount of minutes, data, and/or texts, is that correct?
That's on some of our brands. Some are as well as unlimited.
Okay. And are Tracphones, are they used exclusively for criminal activity?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Nothing further.
Anything else from this state?
Nothing further from the state.
Is this witness to be released or retained?
He's released, Your Honor.
Release, Your Honor.
You're free to go. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Next witness.
At this time, the state calls Myra Simmons.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Myra Simmons.
And would you spell both your first and your last name for our court reporter?
Yes, it's MyraSimmons.
Now, until recently, did you work at the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I did.
Have you recently retired?
Yes, November 22nd of this year.
How long did you work at the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
14 years.
And in what capacity did you work at the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I was an analyst.
And what's an analyst?
I did investigative research and I analyzed call detail records.
Would that therefore include cell phone records?
Yes.
Before we continue, do you have any training or experience in investigative techniques?
Yes, for 14 years I worked for the U.S. government, which I did investigative research. Worked 14 years with Lee County Sheriff's Office, which I did investigative techniques and research. And I have a bachelor's degree in information technology.
Now, at the Lee County Sheriff's Office, did you receive additional training?
Yes, I did. I attended 2 extensive courses in call detail records analysis, and I continued to take webinars and refresher courses on analysis.
Did some of that analysis or those webinars pertain to cell phone and cell tower investigations?
Yes.
And did you, while you were at the Lee County Sheriff's Office, how often would you keep yourself up to date or attend webinars in the area of cell phone analysis?
Oh, at least once a month I would take a refresher course and keep up to date on the newest technology.
Now, was there a time when you were asked by Lee County Sheriff detectives to assist in their investigation in the murder of Teresa Sievers?
Yes.
And what were you initially asked to do?
Lieutenant Downs asked me if I could determine if burner phones was utilized in the homicide of Mrs. Sievers.
And what do you consider a burner phone?
I consider a burner phone is one that you buy for a short time period. There's no name or subscriber on the information, and after its use, it's thrown away, so it's not a long phone.
I want to show you what's been prepared and shown to defense counsel earlier, Your Honor, a demonstrative aid. Would this chart assist you in your testimony with the jury in explaining generally the process you used when you were participating in this part of the investigation?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission for the witness to step down and to use the chart in explaining her testimony.
The chart's marked as,
We'll mark it as demonstrative aid, how about demonstrative aid 119?
you may step down, ma'am.
Thank you.
Counsel, if you need to move, you may.
Now, Ms. Simmons, you indicated you were asked by Detective Downs to look for some, did he provide you any information about what the phones might contain? And then can you walk the jury through the process that you followed in terms of looking for and finding these phones?
Okay, in January and February 2016, Lieutenant Downs asked me if I could find any burner phones utilized in the homicide of Mrs. Sievers. Also, he gave me a little bit of information that the burner phones contained area codes from Georgia and California. So in order to look for these area codes, the tower dome was put into CellHawk. And CellHawk is a software program that we use to map and analyze phone records and tower domes.
Now, let me just back up a minute. You talked about, he mentioned Georgia and California. Did you know the Georgia and California area codes?
No, what I did was download a map of each state that depicted the area codes. A tower dome is where law enforcement sends a search warrant to all cell phone providers asking for all the phones that's pinged off the closest tower to a particular address. In this case, it was the Jarvis Road, which is the scene of the homicide. Then I took those phone records, and I started with AT&T because Mr. Sievers and Mr. Wright both had AT&T carriers, so I figured I would start with that.
And let me just interrupt, do you have to put in each carrier separately into CellHawk?
Yes, I do, because each power dump, there's hundreds of thousands of phone numbers, so I don't want to overload the system, so I start with one cell carrier.
Ms. Ross, can you step back for our court reporters?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So then once it's in the system, I started searching for the area code. I chose Georgia because it was the least area codes. So I started with Georgia, and after a few attempts, the 404 area code came up. And this area code was out of Atlanta or in Atlanta, so that took my interest. Then I entered a Chapel Hill power dump into CellHawk, and Chapel Hill's the closest residence, Mr. Wright. And it was an AT&T power dump. I found that same phone number pinging off of Mr. Wright's on Chapel Hill and the one at Jarvis Street, so this piqued my interest. Then I asked the deputies to send a search warrant on the 404 phone numbers, and when I received it back, I did an analysis on all the phone calls, and most of the phone calls that he made was to an 858, which was a California area code. Then I requested a search warrant on the 858 phone number, and it was sent to Tracfone, and Tracfone came back and said that it was bought at a Walmart on Juliet Road in Naples, Florida on May the 7th. Then I put in Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone records into CellHawk, and I ran the records with the burner phone, and I seen the similarities where they both pinged off of the same tower around the same time on May 7th.
And did you provide this information to the detectives?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much. If you could resume your seat. Did you prepare a PowerPoint today to assist you in going into some of the details about the records that were found with the search warrants and put into CellHawk and the analysis of those records?
Yes, I did.
I, Your Honor, have shown the PowerPoint presentation to counsel before court.
It's going to be used as a demonstrative aid.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You have a copy for the file?
I do, Your Honor.
Excellent. And it's going to be the demonstrative aid number?
120.
Perfect.
Now, I'm going to give you a wireless keyboard.
Okay.
And you can advance this one slide at a time using,
Yes.
I think it's, you know, I am so bad looking at things backwards that
The arrow going this
I
way?
think it's the arrow going that way. Let's see when you hit it and then go back if that's the correct arrow.
Okay.
No, it's this one going this way, okay?
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I know, Ms. Simmons, that, do you have also a copy of this presentation before you?
Yes, I do.
Is it a little easier to read it close up for you than
Yes.
it is? Pardon? Oh, you know what? Here's what I did. I didn't turn on the keyboard, which is why nothing was working. So let's turn on the keyboard. Won't work very much if I don't turn the power on. And then we'll see how it works.
Okay.
So let's talk about you were talking about tower dumps. What are we looking at in the photo that we're seeing right here with your presentation?
That's the top of a tower. That's your antennas. That's on top of a cell tower.
And what's the function of a cell tower?
A cell tower is just really a transmitter. It sends and receives signals from your cell phone.
And when signals are received to the tower, does it record the numbers of the phones that are sending signals?
Yes, it records the number that's sending it, who you're calling, date, time, what kind of call it was.
Do you know why the cell towers record data?
Really for billing.
Now, do you, when you are looking at information that's retrieved from a cell tower, are there any text message conversations or IM conversations or voicemail conversations?
No, there's too much text message, so they don't record those anymore. We don't get text messages.
So what do you get when you get information from a cell tower?
We get the phone number, if it was incoming, outgoing, that telephone number, who you were calling, if it was the data, if it was text, the location, the direction of the location.
Now, is there a word that's used when talking about a cell phone communicating with the tower?
Yes, a ping.
A ping. And what is a ping, or what is pinging?
A ping is when the cell tower sends a signal to the cell phone saying, you know, where are you? And the cell phone responds by its location. And that's the address of the tower. So we get the Latin long of the address of the tower.
Does your PowerPoint remind us next what did Detective Downs ask you to do, and what did you end up trying to do?
I wanted to, on the tower dumps, I'd look for the Georgia area code and the California area codes. And the tower dump on Jarvis Road was the night of the homicide, around, I think around 11:30 p.m. I put it in. And the tower dump in Missouri was May 17th, because I understood that that was the first time that they had communicated on burner phones in Chapel Hill. So I let him know that those two phone numbers talk to each other at those times.
Now, the two numbers that you ultimately, let's jump ahead a minute. Those two numbers that you ultimately gave to Detective Downs or the investigative unit of the Lee County Sheriff's Office, what were those two phone numbers?
The two phone numbers are 404-376-8649, and the California area code number is 858-366-2941.
Now, let's just start and talk about, you gave us an overview of how the flow of this, but let's just start in the middle of that flow and start with the 858 number. Why did this number, I think you just talked about, but why did this 858 number come to draw your attention?
The 858 drew my attention because the 404 had, that was mostly all the calls he talked to was the 858. So, and that drew my attention that it was a California number, the 404 who was in the scene of the homicide and up in Missouri was talking to this California number. So that drew my interest.
And did you ask the detectives to obtain a search warrant for this number after you found it?
Yes.
And did you receive those records?
Yes.
And what did you do with those records when you received them?
I put them into,
Did you,
whoops.
sorry, yeah, we've got the, did you put, did you determine when you looked at those records that you received, is that how you determined it was a Tracfone?
Yes, I did, and it was a Tracfone, and there wasn't, I only know that the service date was May the 7th, 2015. There was no name, no billing, no address, any other information except that the carrier was AT&T.
When you saw that it was a Tracfone, did you ask detectives to obtain the Tracfone information?
Yes.
And did you receive that information?
Yes, I did. That phone was purchased on May the 7th 15/12/40, that's military time, which would be 3/12/40, our time, on Juliet Boulevard in Naples, Florida.
And did you enter the records for that 858 number into CellHawk?
Yes, I did.
And having entered those numbers into CellHawk, were you able to determine the first time that 858 number pinged off of a cell tower?
Yes, on the 7th at 3:19, it pinged. That blue is where, in the middle would be the cell tower. The colors around there, that's AT&T's tower. That's the closest tower to that Walmart store on Juliet Boulevard. And that's off of Mockley Road. And it pinged it was activated at 3:19 p.m. It was a text. It looks like it was just an activation. There wasn't any number. And the longitude and latitude was 26.271939, negative 81.726667. And this became important to me, that address of that longitude and latitude, which is the address of that tower right in the middle.
So I think you just said longitude and latitude that you see on these records when you do this in CellHawk, that's reflecting where the tower is located?
Correct, that's the address of the tower.
And do we see like a little pin and the name Walmart on the map?
Yes.
And what did you ping there? Did you place that pin there?
I placed that pin there. That's the Walmart listed at 5420 Juliet Boulevard in Naples, Florida.
And did you take that, with those records, is that when you put that, when you received the Tracfone records, is that when you put that address into
Yes.
CellHawk? Now, you also, if we go back, talked about once you did this for this area code, what was your next step with the 858 number? What did you next examine or do with CellHawk?
I had Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone records, the 314, and here it shows that he is, Marc Sievers is the contact person. So I put those cell phone records into CellHawk to see on that day if there was any pings in that area.
And were you able to determine whether this cell number, 314-239-0173, were you able to determine whether that phone pinged off of any cell towers between 3 and 3:40 on May 7th?
Yes, the red is his personal cell. You can see the Walmart pinged. It's the same longitude and latitude as the burner phone. It pinged on May the 7th, 2015 from 3:03 to 3:40. And on the last call he made from that area was to the phone number to Mr. Wright.
So you were, you had we'll talk about them in a minute, but you had the cell phone records for the personal cell of Mr. Wright, is that correct?
Yes.
And when you looked at this in CellHawk, you were able to see that that last number called from that tower was a number to Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And again, does this slide reflect where those numbers you just talked about, longitude and latitude for where the cell tower is located?
Yes.
And is that the same longitude and latitude we saw with the 858 number?
Yes, the same address as the tower.
Did you end up doing a comparison between Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone and the 858 number for that day?
Yes, I want to see an animation of the pinging of the two cell phones so I could see if they pinged in the same area at the same time. Whoop.
If you can go back, I think I have to activate this.
So, Mr. Sievers' personal cell will be in the red, and as it flashes, means his phone was activated.
I'm sorry, as it what?
Activated. The blue is the burner cell phone, and it'll show in blue. So that's And that's the closest tower to the,
Your Honor, Mr. Hunter, would you assist here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
this one. You're welcome.
Mr. I'm going to try and play it one more time. Is this the animation that you, that Cellhawk produced for you?
Yes, and you can see Walmart pin there, and you'll see them, the cell phones laying on the same tower, laying their heads on the same tower. Right there is his personal, is the burner phone, and the red is his.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, did you also have an opportunity to view an SMS message from the personal cell of Marc Sievers?
Yes, I did. Since I knew there was communication on the 7th, I looked at the Cellbrite downloads of his text messages to see if there was any communication. And he sent a text to Mr. Wright saying, "Since neither one of us are likely to carry both with us, whenever you want to use the other one, just text me. Other, quote, other, unquote. And then when I can, I will call." So this kind of sparked my interest of maybe trying to communicate on the burner phones.
Now, that message was sent at what time on May 7th?
It was sent around 3:45. This was after the activation.
Did you end up also uploading the 404 numbers that the 404 number that we talked about earlier?
Yes, I did.
And did you use that 404 number, did you upload that 404 number into Cellhawk?
Yes, I did.
The records.
That
And let's talk about how you upload records into Cellhawk. We keep talking about it, but
usually though in, because there's thousands and thousands of numbers, usually though in PDF form, and I just drag them and drop them into the Cellhawk program, which makes it much easier and efficient for an analyst instead of doing a spreadsheet.
And did you do that with this 404 number?
Yes, I did.
What did you next do? Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what steps you next took.
The next, I had Mr. Wright's personal cell, AT&T, and I put those into Cellhawk.
And using Cellhawk, did you create a map of the tower pings for Mr. Wright's personal cell phone and the 404 burner phone?
Yes, in the red is Mr. Wright's residence, and over, kind of up, there's a little small white square. That is the cell tower.
You know, if I might give you for just a moment, if I may approach the witness, I have a laser pointer here. If you would just point for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that little button activates it. If you would just point for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when you refer to Mr. Wright's residence, where you're referring.
Right there is Mr. Wright's residence, and right here is the cell tower, so that's the closest tower to his residence.
And you indicated there was a certain time. Did you pick that certain time range for a reason?
I knew that they may have communicated, or he had communicated on his burner or on the burner phone, the 404, and I know that he did communicate on 314, so I wanted to make a slide to show they pinged off the same tower.
And is this also an animated slide?
Yes, it is.
I think to do it. Now, again, would you remind the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the different colors are again?
Yes, the blue is Mr. Wright's personal cell, and the pink is the burner phone.
And do these, does this animated map, are the pings reflected in the order in which they occurred on the tower?
Yes, as the phone is activated, the tower picks up that signal.
I'm just going to play it one more time. After this, did you inform Detective Downs of your findings?
Yes, I did. I let him know that the Georgia 404 that we were interested in pinged within 2 miles, the closest tower to Mr. Wright's residence. The 404 burner phone and Mr. Wright's personal cell number pings off the same tower almost at the same times. Burner phone 404 pinged within 2 miles of the closest tower to the Jarvis Road in Bonita Springs area at the time of the homicide.
Now, using CellHawk after you had done this, did you create a map to reflect the tower pings for the 404 number
Yes,
on the
that's
day of the homicide?
Yes, that's the 404 coming down. And if you see the last one, I think right here is the homicide scene. And that phone shows that 404 pinged there around 11:28 p.m. the night of the homicide.
Give me just a moment. What did you next look at and determine? What does this show us?
I wanted to make sure that the phone that pinged in Missouri and the phone pinged here was the same phone. And it was, by the phone records, it had the IMEI number on that phone by the phone records, and the IMEI number is the International Mobility Equipment Identifier. It's like a VIN number on your car. International Mobility Equipment Identifier. And then, or a serial number. It stays with that phone. So from that phone traveled from Missouri down to Jarvis Road.
And so I'm looking at, so on May 17th in this particular slide, we see that IME number is that what's up in Missouri on May 17th? That 404 numbers up on
right
May
here.
17th in Missouri?
And right here.
And
Those are the same.
And is the second one the number for June 29th?
That's the SMS message, right? Right here, yes, it's the same.
So are you saying that same physical phone was in Missouri on the 17th of May and was in Southwest Florida on June 28th or 29th?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was your next step?
I understood that there was communications on these burner phones on May the 17th, so I looked through Mr. Sievers' personal cell at his SMS message, and I found this message that says to Wainwright's personal cell, "Hello, brother, from Ann, quote, other, unquote, mother." This was on the 17th at 8:11 p.m. So that was trying to tell me that maybe these burner phones were trying to communicate with each other.
So when you found that particular message, what did you then do?
I went into CellHawk and put the times and dates on both of those phones, and I show that Mr. Wright, or I'm sorry, the burner phone 404 and it shows, that's in the red. It shows it pinging at 8:16 p.m. on the 17th up in Missouri. And the 858 burner phone pinged at 8:16 on May the 17th in the Bonita Springs area. So that kind of validated that SMS message that they.
Did you also use CellHawk to create a chart of the times that those two phones communicated?
Yes, I did. I wanted to see how often the 404 talked to 858. It started on the 17th, and I believe it ended on the 25th, and there was no more activity after the 25th.
Now, the phone records that you obtained for the 404 number, did they show any calls in addition to the calls to the 858 number?
Yes, a few.
And the 858 number, those phone records, did they show any additional calls other than to the 404 number?
A few.
I want to step back for just a minute and talk about the 858 number and Mr. Sievers' personal cell. Did you also use CellHawk to create a map displaying that?
Yes, I just wanted to show the pings off of his personal cell phone, Mr. Sievers. The 314 is in red, and the blue is the burner phone. If you see a little darker, that means at that tower there's a lot more calls. If it's lighter blue, there was fewer calls. And I just, in the middle would be the tower. So as you can see, it's in the southwest. Most of the pings were in the Jarvis Street address area. So it shows me that many times the phone pinged off the same tower, both of them.
Does this map indicate to you whether or not there was ever a time when the 858 number pinged off a tower where the personal cell of Marc Sievers did not ping off of that tower?
No, I didn't see him.
Did the 858 number ever leave Southwest Florida?
No, I did a geofence. That's a virtual fence of around all the pings of that burner phone 858. As you can see, it never left Southwest Florida.
And with the records that you entered into CellHawk, and I guess actually could see, when was the last communication between the 858 number and the 404 number?
I believe it was June the 26th.
But the records would reflect whenever that last
Yes.
time was? Let's just completely switch gears for a moment. Did you review records and put into CellHawk for the number 573-864-1179?
Yes, I did.
And did CellHawk provide you any information regarding that number as to where it might have been on the morning of June 28th, about 6:23 a.m.?
Yes, the let me turn that on right here. Right here is the home of the Juliet Road, and that right there was a ping at 6 a.m. I forgot what the time, exact minute was.
Oh, that's all right. Now, let me just, did you say, I see, it is so hard to see, but
Yes.
I see Jarvis Road written where that ping is.
Yes,
You said
that's a
Juliet
tower.
Road.
Yeah.
Did you mean Juliet or Jarvis?
Oh, Jarvis, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Walmart. Sorry.
So was this a map again created by CellHawk?
Yes, and it shows that is Mr. Rogers' travel down to Florida and back. The pink shows all the pings.
So
of
the
that.
573-864-1179
Yes,
was Mr. Rogers' phone number?
yes,
And you
Person.
created this map with CellHawk showing the cell tower pings?
yes.
Did you also use CellHawk to create a phone summary of the communications between the personal cell phones of Mr. Wright and Mr. Sievers?
Yes.
I think we're probably done with this power. Do you have anything else on the, I don't think there's,
No.
I think I asked, did you also use CellHawk to create a chart of the communications between Marc Sievers and Curtis Wainwright for the period of time June 24th through June 30th?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked for identification as States Exhibit 118 and previously shown to Defense Counsel. What is States Exhibit 118?
This is a phone log of, I got off of CellHawk, of the calls to and from Marc Sievers and Mr. Wright.
Move to introduce States Exhibit 118.
Foundation, Your Honor.
Have both sides approach for a moment. You ready?
Yes, sir.
We'll show it admitted.
Now, Ms. Simmons, to obtain this record, what did you ask CellHawk to provide you?
I asked them to provide me all the communications between the personal cell phone of Mr. Sievers and the personal cell phone of Mr. Wright.
And did you ask for it for a limited period of time?
Yes, June the 24th through, refresh my memory, June 30th.
Thank you. I also want to show you what's been marked for identification and previously shown to Defense Counsel as States Exhibits 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 117. Let me just show you those. If you take a minute to look at them, and then I'll ask a question.
Yes.
Are those copies of some of the slides that were displayed in your PowerPoint that we just viewed?
Yes, they were.
And are those fair and accurate copies of those slides that we saw in your PowerPoint?
Yes.
And I want to start with Exhibit 100. What does Exhibit 100 show us?
It's showing the burner phone, the 858, being activated at Walmart.
And 101, what is it showing us?
It's showing Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone being activated at Walmart.
And 102?
It's showing the burner phone 404 pinging off of Jarvis Road at the time of the homicide.
And I think I'm up to 104?
3.
103? What does 103 show us?
It's showing the 404 burner phone talking to the 858 burner phone. At the 404 burner phone is the one in Missouri, and the 858 burner phone is in Bonita Springs area.
And what does 105 show us?
104?
104 show us?
104 is the burner phone log between 404 and 858, showing they first communicated on 5/17, and the last call was on 6/25.
And what does 105 show us?
It's showing Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone and the 858 burner phone pinging off the same towers.
And what does 117 show us?
It's showing Mr. Rogers' personal cell pinging to Florida and hitting at Jarvis Road, scene of the homicide at 6:02, I believe, in the morning of the homicide.
Move to introduce States Exhibits 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 117.
We'll show them admitted.
Permission to publish these, Your Honor.
You may.
Well, Mr. Hunter, would you assist me again, please? Thank you very much.
No. No, I just want to convert it so it pays it.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 100. Again, if you could remind the members of the jury what we're looking.
That's showing the burner phone was activated on 5/7/2015, 858 area code, which was the California area code. It's pinging to the closest tower at the Walmart on Juliet Boulevard, which is off of Immokalee Road, the tower.
And does that, having used the Zoom, does that show you, does that give us the times that you were talking about in terms of the time that it pinged?
Yes, 3:19 p.m.
And using your laser pointer, can you also show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where we see the latitude and longitude numbers?
Which is right here. The location. So it shows 26.271939, negative 81726667.
And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 101, and if you could tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what they're seeing in State's Exhibit 101.
That shows Mr. Sievers' personal phone pinging off that same tower at between 3:03 and 3:20, 3:32 or 3:40 p.m. was the last call on May the 7th.
And if I zoom here, can you again show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where
Yes,
on
right.
here you see?
Right here is the longitude and latitude, which was the same as the burner phone.
And showing you State's Exhibit 102. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 102?
Well, showing the burner phone, the Georgia area code coming down and pinging at the residence on, this is on June the 28th, the night of the homicide, at the Jarvis Road address, which is the home of the murder scene, and it is at 11:28, I believe, 11:37 p.m. the night on the June the 28th.
And that red pin is the Jarvis Road?
Correct, and that's the
address.
closest tower to that. Yeah, that's where it pinged.
I want to show you what is in evidence at State's Exhibit 103. And can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what State's Exhibit 103 is?
Yes, I was given information that they first communicated on May the 17th, and this shows the burner phone, the 404. It pings on May the 17th around 8:16 p.m. And this is up in Missouri. And this is the California 858 burner phone number area code, and it pings around the same time on 8/16 at 5/17/2015. You can see this was an outgoing call and that he answered outgoing, and this is incoming.
So when we see call direction on these, that's talking about whether it's a call we're receiving or a call that we're sending?
Correct.
And then State's Exhibit 104.
That's the records of how many times the two burner phones, the 404 and 858, had talked to each other. and it shows voice or text.
And does this chart contain all the times that those two phones communicated with each other?
Yes.
And then State's Exhibit 105,
This I showed where the burner phone pinged and also Mr. Sievers' personal cell phone pinged. So it pings off the same tower.
and there is it's hard to see, there looks like there's a pin, an orange pin.
Yes, that's the,
Do you see what I'm talking about?
yes, that's the Jarvis Road right here is the home of the homicide.
And finally, State's 117. What is State's 117? Back it up.
This shows Mr. Rogers' travel down to Florida, and this is the scene of the homicide, and that pings at 6:04, I believe, in the morning of the June the 28th.
The information that you've been presenting here today for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is that all information that was placed into CellHawk?
Yes,
And the maps and the charts that you have been showing the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, was that all produced from CellHawk?
yes,
Now, we were talking about all these phone records and how you upload them into CellHawk in order to sort and to look for various numbers. Is that something you could do by hand?
they used to do them by hand, but it would take a tremendous amount of time and probably would take years to get all the phone numbers, like from the tower down, do it by hand. And also there's you can make mistakes, so it's much more efficient to use the software program.
I'm going to hand to the clerk what's been marked as a demonstrative aid as States 120. And I think with that, Your Honor, I will tender the witness.
Defense.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy retirement.
Needed.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions to follow up on what Ms. Ross talked to you about. So if I recall, you said you started looking for cell phones on the night of the homicide. You recall saying that?
In the tower dump,
Yes.
yes.
And I believe you said at that time you found a 404 number. Is that correct?
In the tower dump, yes.
And that 404 number on June 28th and June 29th had several communications to a 702 number. Is that correct?
I don't recall. I'd have to.
If I show you one of the records you produced, do you think that would help refresh
Sure.
your recollection?
Sure.
May I approach? And for the record, Your Honor, I'm showing the state page 46121 of their discovery.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. And so, do you remember a little better now?
I remember that chart, yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
And my question was, do you recall if on the 28th and 29th of June 2015, if the 404 number had called a 702 number?
Yes.
Okay. And further, do you recall that at 11:36 p.m., if the 404 number sent a text to the 702 number?
I'd have to look at the verify that.
Same
exhibit.
page.
Same page, same exhibit?
Same page.
Yes, sir.
Thank
And I don't believe it's an exhibit, it's
you. Okay,
just same
it's a
page.
page. It's a page.
Well, he gave the page for the discovery, so I just wanted to make sure that we had it on the record what it exactly is. It was 4,000.
I think he said 46,121.
46,121.
Okay. I just wanted to make the record clear that it was the same page from discovery showed to the witness previously.
And, thank you. Ma'am, again, if you recall, at 11:36 PM, do you recall if there was a text from the 404 number to the 702 number?
Yes.
Okay. And just so we're laying an accurate record, when we see AM and PM, we've had some prior phone records where we've used the universal time or Greenwich Mean Time, whatever you call it. If you know, what time zone are these entries?
They are always converted to Eastern Time,
Okay.
either daylight or, yes.
Okay, so even the phone records from Missouri, you would have converted them into Eastern Standard Time?
Correct.
Okay, and this would be during the summer, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, would you account for daylight savings?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If I can, Madam Clerk, can I see Exhibit 105? Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Simmons, I want to ask you about a couple of these blue dots.
Mm-hmm.
So, these blue dots, they come from what we call triangulation of the cell phone towers, is that correct?
No, not those.
No?
No.
How did you come by those blue dots?
Starhawk showed me where the phone pinged, and I just made them bigger so we could get a better presentation of what the phones look. So that's not a triangulation, no.
Okay, so we can't say with any specificity how accurate those dots are, is that correct?
I can say that the personal cell phone and that burner phone pinged off the same tower.
Okay, we can say they were using the same tower.
Yes, sir.
And ma'am, are you familiar with something that's called a handoff?
Yes.
Okay.
Transferring from tower to tower, yes.
And we're not talking about football, but we're talking about cell phone towers.
Correct.
What's a handoff?
That's when the one tower may be busy and it'll go to the next tower.
Okay. And just, I know we're kind of difficult. This orange dot right there, you said that was the Jarvis residence, is that
Correct.
correct? And this circle up here, that would be the restorative health, is that correct?
I don't know what the address was.
Okay. Are you generally aware of the location of the Sievers medical practice?
No.
No? Okay. Clerk. And Ms. Simmons, when were you first asked to participate in this investigation?
That was in January, February of 2016.
Okay, and at that time, were you aware if they already had Dr. Sievers' cell phone in evidence?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you ever do any requests for the geolocation data from Dr. Teresa Sievers' phone?
No, I did not.
Okay, so can we tell in any of these pings how or if Dr. Sievers was in the vicinity of that 858 number? Can you tell?
No.
Okay. Can you say if there was any telephonic contact, either through prepaid phones or the assigned phone numbers, between Marc Sievers and Jimmy Ray Rogers?
No, I cannot.
Okay. And with the prepaid phones, would you agree with me that the total time spent speaking over the prepaid phones was approximately 60 minutes?
I'm gonna object, just that the records will speak for themselves.
Overruled.
Approximately, maybe.
I'm not asking you to go down to the second.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you further agree with me that the length of time on a calendar that these phones were used was from May 17th all the way to June 25th?
Of talking to each other or activating?
Of both.
Well, the activation on the 858 was May 7th,
Okay.
so it's a little longer.
But I'm talking about just about the communication.
Yes.
So, and you would agree with me that the communication on these devices lasted over 1 month?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible for us to determine or discern any of the content of these voice calls between the prepaid phones?
Such as text messages or, I don't know.
Anything?
Just, all I have is documentation that they talk to each other or where they ping from. I don't have text or voicemail.
Do you know what they were talking about?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. And likewise, when we talk about would you agree with me that there were also voice calls on the regular assigned phones from Mr. Sievers to Mr. Wright?
Right.
Objecting to the form of the question.
Overruled.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And is it possible for us to discern what the content of those voice calls was?
No.
Moment. Madam Clerk, can I see 104? Okay. You're going to have to bear with me. This is
Okay.
very small print. We're going to try and work out.
Yes.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been admitted into evidence as 104. Do you have the same exhibit in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the size of the print then, is it fair to say that that's not going to be an issue?
It's not going to be an issue. Thank you.
Okay. So ma'am, on May 17th, this is going to be an issue for me. On May 17th, we've got 2 phone calls, but it kind of looks like it's more than 2 phone calls. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Why does it look like there are so many phone calls when in fact there were only 2?
Well, there was 2 texts and the rest voicemail,
Okay.
or voice calls, I'm
Voice
sorry.
calls.
Yes.
Okay. would you agree with me that for every call, there are multiple entries listed for the same call?
Such as time or,
No, just, so,
Mr. Marc,
there was
let me
a
help you.
phone call on,
Can you zoom it?
I don't know how to zoom it.
I'm just gonna show you how to zoom.
Okay.
You see this zoom right here? If you move your fingers, see what you can do
Ah,
right there?
gotcha.
Okay?
No.
I'll let you know how it works.
okay.
All right, this looks like as big as we're gonna get. So we see on May 17th, we've got 8:16 and 8:17 PM. Do you see those?
Yes,
And you see how they're each roughly 8 minutes and 28 seconds.
yes.
But it appears as if there's 4 entries.
Yes, it could be voicemail, going to voicemail, and it just picked it up.
Okay, but the call duration there shows 8 minutes and call it 28 seconds. Would you
Yes.
agree with that?
Yes,
Would you agree, however, that those were not 4 separate calls, that was one call?
could be, yes.
Would you say it could be?
Yes, I would have to go back and look at the records, but it indicates to me that it probably went to voicemail. One of them is, both of them are on the 16th. Make sure.
517, ma'am.
I mean, 517. See, one's an incoming and an outgoing, so it looks like it might have gone to voicemail and then the other person responded. On 8:16 PM, on 8:28,
Yes, ma'am.
one's incoming and the other one's outgoing. So it could have been going to voicemail and a return call.
All right, let me scoot it over.
Yeah.
We see incoming, outgoing, and then we have
Other.
two listed as other.
Yes, I have no idea what other it could have been. But it pinged off a tower, so the phone was on.
Okay. Do you have any reason to believe that those 4 listings of almost identical time were different phone calls?
I could not say.
Okay. You would agree with me, however, that all 4 of those entries are from May 17th, is that correct?
Yes,
And 2 of them are at 8:16 PM and 1 is at 8:17 PM. Would you agree with that?
yes.
Is it possible that we have multiple entries because the phone is connecting to different towers?
No.
No? Can you explain why we have multiple entries?
Well, on the 811, which one you want to talk about so I can see if it says incoming or outgoing? It could be a voice
The
going
May
into,
17th, 8:16 PM, 8:16 PM, 8:17 PM, 8:17 PM. That all show 8:28 duration, 8:28 duration, 8:27 duration, and 8:28 duration
I would
respectively.
say that would be the same call. If it's incoming or outgoing, it would be the same call.
Okay, it just, it's a little confusing.
It is.
And you would agree with me that the next series of calls, beginning at, well, let's start, there was an 11:15 PM that has a duration of 0 minutes and 0 seconds.
I mean, nothing was picked up.
Okay, so when we go to the next minute there, 11:16 PM, we see an 11:16 PM and 11:16 PM, and we've got one phone call of 8 minutes and 26 seconds duration, and another phone call of 8 minutes and 27 seconds duration. Is it likely that those were, in fact the same call?
It could be.
Okay. On May 21st, we see what looks like 4 entries, 1:30 p.m., 1:30 p.m., 1:31 p.m., 1:31 p.m. The time entries show 7 minutes, 48 seconds, 7 minutes, 46. I can't really see that well. 7 minutes, 48 seconds, and 7 minutes, 47 seconds. Is there any reason to believe that those were not all the same phone call?
No, I would think of the same.
Okay. And on the following day, May 22nd, at 9:29 p.m., we have, again, 4 entries at 9:29 p.m. The first being 8 minutes, 28 seconds, the remaining 3 being 8 minutes, 29 seconds. Do we have any reason to believe that those would not be the same call?
Well, on the 829, I don't know because its direction is other, so I have no idea
Okay.
where that phone was located, or the call of the phone.
Now, on June 22nd, we had a month gap, and then we hit June 22nd. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And on June 22nd, we have at 2:30 p.m. a call lasting 0 minutes and 0 seconds, which
Yes.
looks like it just wasn't picked up.
Picked up.
Okay. And then the following day at 1:57 p.m. and again at 1:57 p.m. we have a call lasting 11 minutes and 51 seconds and another call lasting 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Is there any reason to believe that those 2 calls that started concurrently are not the same call?
No.
Okay. And again, move that up a little bit. We have another 2 entries, both at 2:15 p.m., both lasting 1 minute and 47 seconds. Is there any reason to believe that those 2 were not the same phone call?
No.
And then finally, on June 25th at 8:10 p.m., we have 2, again, identical entries, except the first entry shows a phone call 13 minutes and 24 seconds, and the second phone call shows 13 minutes and 23 seconds. Is there any reason to believe that those were not the same call?
No.
Madam Clerk. Thank you. And going back to June 28th and June 29th, we showed that there were several phone calls to and from the 404 number to the 702 number. Is that correct?
On June,
June 28th and June 29th of 2015.
on the burner phones, or?
Yes. Judge, again, if I can approach with discovery page 46,121.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the area code 702.
Okay.
And I don't know who's,
I'm sorry? Well, you say you don't know whose phone that is? Showing page page 46,139. Ma'am, if I showed you another document that you generated, would that perhaps refresh your
Sure.
recollection?
Thank you.
Will you take a look at this document for me?
Okay.
Do you remember creating that document?
Yes, I created this for command staff.
Okay. And does that document that you created, does that show an assigned name to the 702 number?
Yes, it shows Angela Wright.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Nothing further, ma'am.
Steve?
Just briefly, Your Honor, if I might have States 104. Thank you very much. I just want to ask you a couple clarifying questions. With States Exhibit 104. Now, when you asked Cellhawk to create this chart, did you ask it to combine the 404 and 858 phone numbers?
I do a phone log and I put in both phone numbers and it creates who they talk to.
So does this reflect when it's an outgoing call and when it's an incoming call?
Yes,
So the outgoing call would reflect one phone number and the incoming call would reflect the other phone number?
correct.
And the double time for those would be a reflection of the fact that it's both call records that have been combined?
Yes, it could be.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Defense.
No recross.
Is this witness to be retained or released?
Retained, Your
Released,
Honor.
Your,
Released from the state?
Retained
released,
from
Your
defense,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Ma'am, you're subject to
Retained, yes.
Ma'am, you're subject to recall. We'll let you know if you're needed again.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, it's almost 10:30. Do any of our jurors need a restroom break at this time? I see a few hands, so I'll instruct you not to talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved, and we'll be with you momentarily. Please be seated. You have one witness left for today, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who is that?
Susan Buchhofer, Your Honor.
We'll be in recess for a few moments, let everyone use the restroom, and 5-10 minutes.
We'll be ready, Your Honor.